Hey, good afternoon. Kirk McDowell with the Book Writers Club. It's Friday. Let's see, what is the date today? Friday, the 10th of August. And hey, just this is my sort of pretty much daily podcast, more or less every day. And the Book Writers Club is a resource and a place where thought leaders and coaches, consultants can come and get their stories or their message or their legacy like really defined. Get their story told, build your community, and transform your world. And I just got back the transcript of my first book, Contribution Selling. It's a transformational approach to selling for mostly for impassioned business owners. People who are in business, like really excited about what they're up to. Certainly coaches and consultants and that sort of thing, public speakers certainly fall into that category. But anyway, I got my first transcript back. I'm reading it through, putting on the finishing touches, and should be out really soon. Super excited. If you have questions about writing a book or would like to get started on your outline, I'd love to talk to you. Today is I'm working on my a book about coaching, and I'm going to talk a little bit about authenticity. We hear a lot about authenticity, and there's a really beautiful distinction under there, but it's often kind of thrown around in different ways that are somewhat casual. And I just kind of want to revisit this whole idea of authenticity. And I started looking at this about 20 years ago, and it's really an interesting conversation. So here we go. So in this conversation of authenticity, the basic premise is that human beings are sort of fundamentally inauthentic. Now, a lot of people have a reaction to this, like kind of somewhat defensive. I'm not authentic, or I'm not inauthentic, or I know somebody who's not inauthentic, or something like that. But let's just get clear what we mean first before we get into who's who and what's what and whether you qualify. so the idea is just one way that I talk about it that kind of gets the conversation started. Like, you can imagine that if you asked 100 people on the street, hey, how are you? Right? The vast majority, if not all of them, would be some version of fine. I'm fine, right? However, if you actually, connected with 100 people, statistically, you would know that a bunch of them are dealing with really big stuff. Financial emergencies, emotional emergencies, family emergencies, on and on, right? Health, well-being, and so so you got that category of people who are like dealing with something big, and then you've got a big percentage. We don't have to get into percentages, but a big percentage of people are just kind of quietly dealing with despair. Life isn't turning out the way they thought it would, or hasn't turned out the way they thought it would, or doesn't look like it's going to, and it just looks like that's the way life is. And I encounter people all the time who, their bodies are alive, but they're more or less dead. Like, there's no dream left, there's no spark left. They're just kind of, getting up every morning because they hadn't died yet, and drag themselves to work and drag themselves home and whatever, right? And so authenticity. So given that's the experience of a lot of people, and then if you ask people how they are, they tell you they're fine. That's the inauthenticity that I'm talking about, right? There's something true for people that they don't normally reveal. So let's get it personal, right? So let me think. So I present, generally speaking, so I'm going to share something of myself, and then you can just kind of look for yourself, right? So just off the cuff, I present at, well, let me just think of something that's a little juicier. So, if there's, just want to get specific. Let's see. So, okay, so let's talk about money, right? So money is something that is could be working a little better for me. So, I had a little setback recently, and my interest as a human being is to avoid embarrassment or discomfort or risk of loss of reputation, et cetera, right? That's like a very human fundamental drive. And so when a topic like money comes up, I know that people really can be very judgmental, both consciously and unconsciously. People just form opinions they don't even notice, right? And so, that is something that I would tend to not readily reveal. So I could be in the middle of something like really, difficult at a particular moment, and somebody would ask me how I was doing, and my automatic response would be fine, because I don't want to reveal that because it doesn't look good, right? But in the not revealing of that, I am literally separating myself from the world and any possible support. And I have the experience of being alone because I'm literally making myself alone because I'm keeping secret or private that which I'm dealing with and literally presenting something else. I mean, you could call it inauthentic. Another word we use for stuff like that is lying, like, how are you doing? Fine. No, you're not doing fine. That's a lie. Like you're not doing fine. You're in despair, or you're having a crisis, whatever, right? And so you can just look for yourself those moments when somebody asks you a question or about yourself or about something that relates to you, and you literally give an answer designed to mislead, right? When you're not doing fine and you say you're doing fine, that is literally designed to get somebody off the track of the truth, your actual experience, onto something that is false. Okay, that's pretty clear cut when you look at it like that, right? So it's not bad. We do it all the time, right? It's part of being a human being, but it's not bad, right? But here's the thing. It literally separates you from the rest of the world, right? So people will tend to most often be inauthentic in a moment of stress, right? So here's the craziness. Here's the craziness of human being. I like to sort of think of it as the absurdity of human being, and I see it all the time everywhere, and it really cracks me up these days. But here's a great example, right? So you're dealing with something that's difficult for you financially, emotionally, whatever, reputation, and you literally, in a quest for not being embarrassed or being uncomfortable or being known about something that you're uncomfortable with, right? You literally, all the people who could help you in your life, you literally put them off the scent. You literally misdirect them. You literally lie to them, or you're inauthentic with them, right? In a way that is very human. It's not bad. It's probably automatic. You don't even notice half the time, right? But it's there, right? And the impact is you're alone. You're unsupported, and you don't have the resource or resources you would have had if you opened up your mouth, right? So, there have been occasions where somebody asked me how I was doing, and I'm like, actually, I'm not doing that well, and here's what I'm dealing with, and I got immediate support, right? Unexpected, right? Or if I didn't get immediate support, I was now not alone. Like I literally was not alone. You know, someone else was right there with me, sharing the experience that I was having. So if you've ever been alone, I mean, like alone, like there's nobody there and nobody understands what you're going through, and there's nobody to call. If you've ever been alone, having one person to get what you're dealing with is a big deal. Big deal, right? So when you are inauthentic, you remove the opportunity to have that kind of connection, right? Have somebody know what you're dealing with. Have somebody know you in what you're dealing with. Like really just get it all. So you remove the shot, right? You remove any possibility of that. You remove any possibility of being supported, right? And that's just and then you're kind of going against how human beings work, right? Human beings are a highly social animal. um, it's easy to resist being social because it's uncomfortable, and there's always sort of like heartache involved to some degree or another, like that, right? But we're a social animal, and we kind of go crazy when we're isolated. So another evil, if you will, of inauthenticity is you just get really isolated, and human beings start to spin out. If you ever meet someone who has been isolated for a long time, or it's just being social and being around other people really does something for human beings. Like it's part of how we're designed. We're not really whole and complete by ourselves. Okay, good. So listen, that's my take on authenticity. And if you're a coach, and I love training coaches and public speakers and leaders and that kind of thing. And if you're a coach, here's something authenticity really provides for you. If you're someone who is out to make a difference in the world, right? As you are authentic about that which you've been inauthentic about, like you reveal something about yourself, right? That could, real mundane example would be, hey, I'm, really nervous up here right now, and, and then the revealing of it, right, often creates the experience of the listener of they can kind of relax because we're all human beings, we're all dealing with something, we could just kind of relax, right? And then the degree to which you're authentic about that which you haven't been inauthentic. Like if you're leading a workshop on relationships, you want to create something to say about relationships that points to the absurdity of human being where you're located, and then in a way that people can hear themselves in it. And then what you'll get for your trouble as a coach or leader is you'll get a desire from your audience members to actually be authentic about that which they've been inauthentic about, like the big reveal for themselves, right? They'll see the beauty and the power in your big reveal, right? And they'll like really want to do that themselves, right? And it's really a great place to be in a transformational kind of workshop or seminar or whatever kind of environment or a coaching conversation. All right, great. So authenticity is a really powerful distinction. I hear it oftentimes used as like a weapon or a tool, and what I mean by that is, don't mean to be too dramatic, but the distinction authenticity has nothing to do with right or wrong or good or bad or the right thing to do or something like that. That's not the world in which this distinction and distinctions in general live in, right? It's not the right, being authentic is not the right thing to do. It's not bad if you're inauthentic. It's not good if you're authentic. It doesn't solve your problems. It doesn't help you sleep. It doesn't help you make friends. And maybe it does or maybe it doesn't or whatever, but that's not the point of it, right? Authenticity is its own thing, right? And one would choose to be authentic just simply for its own reward, just to choose to be authentic, right? And then the goodies come out of this really clear space, clear heart, clean space, blank slate kind of, I choose to be authentic, not to get anywhere with anybody, not to score points with anything, just simply because I think it's a beautiful way to be in the world, right? And should you come to that conclusion and should you make that choice, especially if you're someone who's out to make a difference in the world, which is really the folks I'm trying to connect with here, right? It's a really valuable tool, not for manipulation, but for opening up conversations, opening up people, cracking through that hard crust of, resignation and cynicism, and however you view that sort of, getting through to them kind of thing, right? So anyway, I'm gonna shut it down there. Those are some notes and some thoughts from an upcoming book on coaching. If you'd like to work on an outline, if you'd like to talk to me about coaching in general, or have some questions about the Book Writers Club, really fantastic program. We're just finishing up a couple of our first projects right now, and they're really coming out wonderfully, and I would love to talk to you more about that. Okay, thanks a lot. Kirk McDowell, the Book Writers Club. You can schedule a call with me right there at the link on the description, kirkmcdowell.com. Super easy to schedule a challenge call or a call with me, and then we'll just take things from there. All right, guys, thanks a lot. Take care.